Hello, in this video we're going to talk about where imaginary numbers come from. Let's take the square root of -1, for example. We cannot take the square root of a negative number. We could take the square root of +1, which is 1, but the square root of -1 we haven't done yet. So what we do is we call the square root of -1 I, where I stands for imaginary. Imaginary numbers are a new set of numbers that includes I. Now, it will be helpful for the next few days to have your calculator in A plus BI mode. In order to do that, the buttons are there. You hit mode, you scroll down, you highlight A plus BI, and hit enter. We did that the first day of school. Our calculator should already be in that mode and good to go. Now, let's talk about how to simplify radicals with negatives in them. It's going to be mostly the same. We know that the square root of 9 is 3, but we're going to try to find out the square root of -9. We're going to break this up. The square root of -9 is 9 times -1, right? The square root of 9 is 3, and then the square root of -1 we call I. So the only difference is that if you have a negative under the radical, there is an I in your answer. Let's try the next one. We have 5 times the square root of -18. Well, -18 breaks up into -9 and 2. We have 5, the square root of -9, just like before. Square root of 9 is 3, but because it's negative, you're going to put an I there. So this is 3I radical 2. 5 times 3 is 15I radical 2. Let's try the next one. What times what is -6? Well, we do know that 2 times 3 is 6, but neither 2 nor 3 are perfect squares. So we can't simplify radical 6 itself, but we can simplify negative radical 6 because we can get rid of the negative by writing an I. This is I radical +6. So let's talk about what a complex number is. A complex number is of the form A plus BI, where A is a real number and B is the imaginary number. So for example, if you had, let's say 5 plus 2I, that is a complex number. We have that this guy, number 5, that's a number we've always known, it's real. And then 2I is the new imaginary number. So the combination of real plus imaginary numbers creates what we call complex numbers. Now, complex numbers come in pairs. Those are called conjugate pairs. It's two complex numbers that are almost the same with the exception of the imaginary part. So for example, if you had 5 plus 2I, the conjugate is 5 minus 2I. You only change the part that's imaginary, and that's the part with the I. So let's talk about finding conjugates. We have -3 plus 2I. -3 is the real number. 2I is the imaginary. Both of them together makes it complex. You are going to go to the imaginary part, and that's the only value you're going to change. You're going to keep the real -3, and we're going to change the 2I to -2I. For the next one, we have 5, which is real, minus 8I. The 8I is imaginary, so the conjugate pair would be plus 8I. That is all for this video. I hope it helped.